I'm very glad to have the opportunity to chair this session today. This first panel goes straight to the heart of the matter. So what we're going to discuss is the practice of budgeting and specifically what drives the form and functionality of budget systems. For those of you who had the opportunity to read Philip's excellent framing paper, you'll see that he laid out a number of issues that we know have to do with what lies behind the budget process, and putting his finger on some of the most important debates, including the technical versus the non-technical, the political dimensions of what we know about what drives budget systems, the difference in the formal and the informal the informal systems. We touched on that already in the first sessions. For example, we discussed the importance of the prominence of laws versus other incentives that are needed to improve budget process. One specific issue is that while, as Philip said earlier, quite a lot of this is well known or has been debated in the literature and in policy circles in the last few years, what we know far less about is how that difference in practice in different parts of the world. There is more to be found out by looking at how some of those issues play out in different settings where the institutional context, the history, levels of capacity are fundamentally different. So to do this, we have assembled, I think, an excellent panel that will allow us to take a good look around the world, from experiences from Africa to Latin America to South and Eastern Europe, to try to better understand what actually drives budget processes, and particularly the balance between the form and the functionality of these systems. So to start with, Neil Cole, who is the Executive Secretary of the Collaborative Africa Budget Reform Initiative based in South Africa, previously served as Chief Director of the African Economic Integration Unit in the South African National Treasury, as well as in the Budget Office. His specific expertise is on strategic planning, budgeting, and budget execution, so you'll agree with me that he will know a thing or two about what does it take to go from theory to practice in implementing budgetary reform. We'll then go to Jana Repensek. Sorry, wrong. We'll then go to Carlos Santachin, apologies, who is the Principal Research Economist at the IDB, at the Inter-American Development Bank, where he focuses on issues of political economy, of fiscal reform, and tax compliance, and therefore will allow us to specifically focus on that part of the public finance systems, which is so, is so important and often misunderstood, or in understanding how in practice budget system work. We'll then go to Jana, who is a Deputy Director of the Center for Excellence in Finance in Ljubljana in Slovenia, who has a specific focus on capacity development and working with members in the region, so in South and Central and Eastern Europe, on building their capacity and in institutional capacity, change management, human resources, so all of what it actually takes for things to happen in practice. After this free presentation, we'll ask Joachim, here's on my right, who's a senior lecturer at the LSE, to help us make sense of all of this. Joachim is a lecturer in public policy at the London School of Economics. He has also worked in the Institute for Democracy in South Africa, in IDASA, and he has particular interest research on public budgeting, fiscal policy, issues around legislatures and decentralization. So again, to the heart of this matter of what does it take in practice. And he teaches public budgeting and financial management. So without further ado, can I ask Neil to please take the floor? We have allocated between 15 and 20 minutes to each of the speakers to ensure they have enough time for an interesting discussion afterwards.